Hello viewers, it's Josie. Welcome back to another episode of Eclectic Movie Reviews and Updates. And today I will be reading my essay on Bong Joon-ho's darkly comedic thriller satire, Parasite. Now, if you have not seen the film yet, please click away now because I'm going to be dropping some major spoilers in the first paragraph alone. Also, you should watch the film because it is absolutely brilliant. Anyway, Parasite is a bluntly comical allegory of economic inequality. In many films, the battle is between the rich and the poor. Parasite, on the other hand, looks at socioeconomics more honestly. While the Parks represent the haves and the Kims represent the have-nots, they are not exactly competitors, but rather they leech off one another, as the title Parasite suggests. The real battle is between the Kims and the man in the bunker and his wife, the original housekeeper. The Kims represent the middle class, while the man in the bunker and the housekeeper represent those on the bottom. That being said, Parasite is not a three-way war between the top, middle, and bottom classes, but rather a war between the middle and the bottom, competing for the resources of the top. This battle is most exemplified during the birthday party scene where the man in the bunker kills Kai Jung and Mr. Kim kills Mr. Park. Despite this bloody entanglement, Mr. and Mrs. Park are not competing for resources along with the Kims and the man downstairs and his wife, Moon Gwang. They have them already. In fact, they are the resources. They are the host for the parasites. Without the Parks, the Kims don't have a sustainable income, nor does the man downstairs have shelter to hide away from the loan sharks. The symbiosis between these three groups is where the title Parasite cleverly fits in. Without the Kims or the housekeeper, the Parks cannot have the daily tasks conveniently done for them. This makes them parasites too. They leech off of the labor of those below them. Therefore, the Kims and the bunker couple's desperate competition for resources is reflective of how the middle class and the lower middle class struggle to survive financially. Nevertheless, Parasite still mirrors how all three social classes interact with one another. First, the whole sequence where the Kims sabotage Moon Gwang is comparable to the competitive job market. Despite the likability of the Kims, they are not selected for their job positions based on merit. The Parks are gullible enough to believe their facades and lies about their, quote, personal connections. This is not far from how in real life a lot of jobs are given not by merit, but rather who knows who. Secondly, although Mr. and Mrs. Park live in the beautiful house, they are not home as much as their kids are. Amy Taubin from Film Comment magazine points out, while Ki-woo and Kai Jung get their jobs under false pretenses, they relate to the Park kids better than the kids' helicopter parents. The Parks being away from their house a lot, especially when they try to go camping, while the Kims work for them there, echoes how in real life many rich people take several vacations a year, while the middle class works most of the time and does not have the time or the money to take as many vacations. The class distinctions between all three of the families is brilliantly symbolized by the production design, deservedly nominated for an Academy Award. Where the characters are placed setting-wise is where they are placed in society. The Parks obviously live above ground in a gorgeous house. The Kims live in a semi-basement that is, of course, built low, but is just high enough to see the sunlight. The man in the bunker, on the other hand, is completely underground and cannot see any sunlight. The absence of sunlight here is metaphorical of the absence of privilege. While the Kims are unemployed, they are lucky enough to have a home in the first place, even if it's infested with bugs. Additionally, unlike the man in the bunker, they are not completely isolated from the rest of the world. even if someone pees in front of them. Bo Seo from The Atlantic argues, the economic gap between the two families becomes clearest in the moments of greatest intimacy. Obviously, the moment of greatest intimacy is the birthday massacre. Most of all, it is the moment of deadliest interaction. Seo is certainly on point, referring to the Parks and the Kims, but there is an even bigger gap between the Parks and the Bunker couple. I could imagine a general audience member asking why the man in the bunker does not kill any of the Parks first. Although the man in the bunker may envy the richly abundant life of the Parks, he is far too dependent on the Parks to kill them. Without the Parks, the man in the bunker would have no secret shelter to hide away from the loan sharks. This all ties back to the Parks being the resources that the Kims and the bunker couple compete for. In short, the neediness for resources is what makes the interaction between the Kims and the men in the bunker so deadly. It is what gives them a reason to compete. Despite Parasite being a tragedy, they are no villains. Because the Kims are the center of focus, it is easy to root for them. However, they are not angels. They are con artists, and their entrance into the Parks home ultimately leads to the downfall of the man in the bunker and his wife, and the downfall of Mr. Kim. Truthfully, I felt bad for the two of them. Like anyone else, they wanted food and shelter. Moon Gwang even refers to Chung Suk and herself as neighbors in need. Certainly, the Parks are rich and privileged. However, they are not abusive to the Kims. This is not to say that they do not look down upon them. In fact, Mr. Park says that Kai Tak has a disgusting subway smell. And it is devastating for Desong to witness his father being murdered on his own birthday. Talk about a tragic childhood. My God. Moreover, the villain is not any particular living character, but rather the socio-economic system. As gorgeous as the house is, it is emblematic of this unfair system. The visible part of the house, or everything above the basement, represents the idealistic upper-class life nearly impossible to live. Interestingly enough, whoever seems to buy that house does not stay in it very long. The Parks cannot even continue their life in the house after the father gets brutally murdered. Another family moves in the house after the massacre, but who knows how long they will stay there. It is almost as if the house is cursed. Alternatively, the curse is the socio-economic system. Another cursed object in the film, if you will, is the Scholar Stone. In the first act of the film, it is revealed that it is supposed to bring wealth to a family. Much like the birthday massacre, Ki Woo's head injury emphasizes how harmful the Kim family's desperate chase after wealth is. The stone is a symbol for superficial hopes of living the rich life as well as social immobility. Just like the social status of the Kim family, rocks cannot visibly move on their own. Ultimately, Parasite is a circular story. It begins and ends with Ki Woo in the semi-basement. Ki Woo's greed and financial desperation physically brings him back to where he was originally. Worst of all, the Kims are worse than where they were beforehand. Kai Tak is away from his wife and son, now living in the basement of the former Parks house. Kai Jung is dead. Obviously, the Kims were in no way as privileged as the Parks, but they did not realize what they had until it was gone. They were together as a family. They were better off living off of menial jobs. Bong Joon-ho presents us with a fake happy ending where Ki Woo and his parents have the house. Shortly after, the camera cuts to Ki Woo back in the semi-basement finishing his letter to his dad, who now lives in the bunker. As much as we all want the Kims to be reunited together in the house, the film would not have been as effective as a social commentary if it had ended with Ki-woo's fantasy. Bong Joon-ho himself even says that it would take 564 years for Ki-woo to buy the house. And 564 years was actually the original title for the ending song, Soju 1 Class, that Choi Woo-shik sings. The tragic element of it all being imagined is what makes the audience feel empathy, thereby highlighting global inequality. Furthermore, the movie would also not be as effective if any of the Parks were portrayed as evil. If that were the case, the birthday scene would not be such an emotional gut punch. Most importantly, the film would not be as honest about the contemporary socio-economic climates around the world. Let's face it, being rich does not automatically make you evil. Likewise, being poor does not automatically make you a sympathetic saint. All in all, the complex socio-economic commentary is one of the many reasons Parasite will go down in textbooks and be studied for years to come. Not only does this go down in film textbooks, well, not only should this go down in film textbooks, but in sociological textbooks as well. That is how socially and politically provocative Parasite is, and that is why I would love to see Parasite win Best Picture at the Oscars next Sunday, February 9th. Anyway, to cite my sources are the article Bong Joon-ho on Why He Wanted Parasite to End with a Surefire Kill by Alex E. Jung from Vulture magazine, A House Divided by Amy Taubin from Film Comment, and Parasite in the Curse of Closus by Bo Seo from The Atlantic. And that will do it for my essay, Parasite, A War Between the Poor and the Poorer. If you like my videos, please subscribe. You can also follow me on Instagram at Eclectic Movie Updates. I have another page for my poetry called Positive Poems. See you next time. Bye.